Lyra had never been particularly good at following rules, which was precisely how she found herself deep in the alien jungle, staring at the biggest, scariest, and, if she dared say, most miserable-looking dragon she had ever seen. The forest was alive with eerie sounds, clicking insects, rustling bioluminescent vines, and the occasional distant howl of something she hoped was herbivorous. The colony's perimeter fence had long since vanished behind her, swallowed by towering trees with bark that shimmered in blues and purples. She wasn't supposed to be out here. Too dangerous, they said. Too many unknowns. Which, in Lyra's opinion, was adult talk for too interesting. Then again, she wasn't feeling quite so smug about her choices now. The dragon, because what else could she call it, was enormous, easily the size of a transport shuttle. Its sleek, armored body shimmered in shifting hues of silver and black, as if it couldn't decide whether to be metal or flesh. For massive wings, now folded tight against its back, twitched involuntarily with pain. Its head, elongated and crowned with ridges like sharp-edged stars, was pressed against the ground, its body coiled in a way that suggested both exhaustion and wariness. And, of course, there was the matter of the thorn. It wasn't a normal thorn. No, that would be too easy. This thing was massive, nearly as long as Lyra's arm, jagged, and pulsing with a faint, unnatural light. It was lodged deep in the creature's mouth, right between those terrifying, bone-white fangs. Every time the dragon tried to move its jaw, it let out a rumbling groan that rattled Lyra's bones and sent flocks of glowing birds screaming into the sky. A smarter person would have run away. Lyra took a step closer. The dragon's eyes snapped open, and Lyra forgot how to breathe. They were luminous, swirling with color, violet at the edges, shifting into a molten gold at the center. They locked onto her, narrowing, assessing. She could almost hear the warning. One more step, and I will incinerate you where you stand. Lyra swallowed hard. Okay, so, this is awkward. The dragon did not respond. She raised her hands slowly, like she'd seen in old movies when someone was trying to show a wild animal they weren't a threat. Look, I get it. You're having a really bad day. But, and hear me out, I think I can help. The dragon exhaled sharply, a blast of hot air ruffling her hair. Or, I could leave and we pretend this never happened. It didn't blink. Lyra groaned. Right? Of course. I'm talking to a dragon. In a jungle. On an alien planet. Because this is my life now. Her gaze flickered back to the thorn. The longer she looked at it, the more wrong it felt. It wasn't just stuck in the dragon's mouth. It was buried, the edges looking as though they had burned into flesh. It almost looked technological. But that was ridiculous. Plants didn't come with wiring. The dragon shifted slightly, and Lyra caught it. The smallest flicker of something in its eyes. Not just pain, something else. Trust, which was absurd. There was no logical reason a massive, biomechanical predator should trust her, a scrawny 12-year-old with a bad habit of getting into trouble. Then again, logic had never really been her strong suit. She took a slow, careful step forward. The dragon flinched but didn't move away. Another step. Still no fiery death. That was promising. She stopped just inches from its snout, close enough to feel the heat radiating off its scales. The thorn pulsed, and the dragon winced, its muscles tensing. All right, big guy, Lyra murmured. I don't suppose you've got a name, huh? The dragon rumbled. It wasn't quite a growl, but it wasn't not a growl either. Cool. I'll take that as a no. She eyed the thorn. So, here's the deal. That thing looks nasty. You want it gone, yeah? Silence. Lyra sighed. I'm going to assume that's a yes, because otherwise this is about to get real awkward. She reached out, hesitated. The dragon's gaze followed her every movement, unblinking. Slowly, carefully, she wrapped her fingers around the thorn. The second she touched it, a jolt shot up her arm, like static electricity, but angry. Lyra gasped, staggering back. The dragon let out a sharp, pained sound, its body shuddering. Lyra blinked. Her hand was tingling. More than that. Her head was tingling, like 1,000 tiny whispers were brushing against the edge of her mind. She looked at the dragon. It looked back, And then, for the briefest moment, she understood. The pain, the fear, the desperation. It wasn't just a thorn. It was a weapon. Something someone had done this to it. The realization hit like a punch to the gut. Lyra clenched her jaw, shaking off the lingering sensation. The dragon's breathing was ragged, its eyes still locked onto hers, waiting. She took a deep breath. Okay, new plan. This is going to hurt. She grabbed the thorn with both hands and pulled. The reaction was instant. The dragon howled, a sound so powerful it made the air vibrate. The ground trembled. Lyra's muscles screamed in protest, but she didn't let go. The thorn resisted, fighting to stay embedded. The dragon thrashed, but didn't snap at her, didn't try to shake her off. Lyra gritted her teeth. Come on. With one final, wrenching twist, the thorn came free. For a heartbeat, there was silence. Then the dragon collapsed, its body heaving as if it had just run a marathon. Lyra stumbled back, panting. The thorn lay in her hands, pulsing weakly before its glow faded entirely. Up close, she could see the strange metallic filaments running through it, sharp and unnatural. Something told her this was just the beginning of a much bigger problem. A deep rumble pulled her attention back to the dragon. It was watching her, eyes half-lidded, exhausted but calm. The tension in its body had lessened. Lyra swallowed. So, we cool? The dragon huffed, a short burst of warm air washing over her. She grinned. Yeah, we're cool. A distant beep shattered the moment. Lyra's stomach dropped. The colony's scouting drones. They'd found her, and if they saw the dragon, injured or not, there was only one thing they were going to do. Lyra turned back to the massive creature still sprawled on the ground. Well, big guy, she muttered. We might have a tiny problem. The dragon flicked an ear, and then, slowly, painfully, it began to rise. Lyra had precisely 30 seconds to panic before things went from bad to even worse. The colony's scouting drone hovered just above the treetops, its sleek, disc-shaped body glinting under the bioluminescent canopy. A red light flickered across its underbelly, scanning, recording, broadcasting her location back to home base. That meant the enforcers were coming. And when they got here, well, they wouldn't exactly be interested in friendly negotiations with a creature that looked like it could eat a transport shuttle for breakfast. Lyra turned back to the dragon, who was now sitting, if you could call a creature that size sitting, on its haunches, watching the drone with narrowed, distrustful eyes. Its breathing was still labored, but the pain had lessened, no longer racking its body with uncontrollable tremors. Okay, buddy, here's the situation, Lyra whispered, stepping closer. That thing, she pointed at the drone. Very bad. The people coming? Even worse, they see you, and it's game over. And not in a fun, just hit reset kind of way. The dragon blinked, tilting its head slightly, as if processing this information. Lyra exhaled. Right? You don't speak human. Fantastic. The drone emitted a sharp beep. A voice, flat, robotic, and painfully familiar, crackled through its speakers. Unauthorized personnel detected. Evacuate immediately. Armed response en route. Lyra groaned. Wow, you guys really know how to make a girl feel welcome. She didn't have time to wait around. She needed a plan. Something smart. Tactical. Carefully thought out. Instead, she grabbed a rock and hurled it at the drone. The rock missed by about 3 feet. The drone did not look impressed. The dragon, however, let out a low, rumbling noise, something that sounded suspiciously like amusement. Lyra scowled. Oh, shut up. The dragon's amusement was short-lived. A moment later, the underbelly of the drone shifted, and a small compartment opened. Lyra barely had time to register what was happening before a sharp, electric pulse shot through the air, striking the ground between her and the dragon. She yelped, stumbling back. The ground sizzled where the pulse had hit, charred black. Oh, they weren't just sending enforcers. They were sending elimination protocols. Her stomach twisted. Okay, change of plans. She turned to the dragon. You need to get out of here. Now. The dragon didn't move. It just watched her, golden eyes unreadable. Lyra groaned. Oh, come on. You're free now. No more thorn. No more suffering. Time to go be a majestic, terrifying space creature somewhere else. Still, the dragon didn't move. And that's when it hit her. It couldn't leave. Not because it was still hurt, but because it had been hurt for so long that it didn't know what to do with itself now. She sighed, pinching the bridge of her nose. Great. I saved an existentially confused space dragon. This is definitely not what I thought my day was going to look like. The drone beeped again, armed response arriving in 60 seconds. Lyra's pulse spiked. She was out of time. She turned back to the dragon, took a deep breath, and placed a hand on its massive snout. Listen, she said softer this time. You don't owe me anything, but if you stay here, they will kill you. And I'm not going to let that happen. A beat of silence. Then, something shifted in the dragon's eyes. Not just intelligence, understanding. The air between them crackled with something unspoken. A bridge, however fragile, had been built. Lyra pulled back, nodding toward the trees. Go. I'll distract them. The dragon hesitated for only a second before spreading its wings, the sheer force of it sending a gust of warm air rushing over her. It launched into the trees, its massive body moving impossibly fast, vanishing into the dense foliage. Lyra let out a breath. Okay, step 1, complete. Step 2, unfortunately, involved making herself very annoying. She turned back to the drone, squared her shoulders, and put on her best innocent colony girl face. Hey there, totally non-threatening robot. Guess what? I found a really cool bird out here. Crazy, right? You wanna? A second electric pulse shot past her head. She shrieked, rude. A rustling in the trees made her heart nearly stop. Had the dragon stayed? But no. Something else emerged. A squad of enforcers. 4 of them, heavily armed, helmets reflecting the jungle light. The lead enforcer, a woman with a voice like ground-up steel, spoke first. What the hell are you doing out here, kid? Lyra straightened, crossing her arms. Oh, just risking my life for the greater good and all that. Another enforcer, taller, with an expression like he'd rather be anywhere else, sighed. I told you it was the Turner girl. Of course it's the Turner girl, the woman snapped. She turned her glare back to Lyra. Where is it? Lyra blinked. Where's what? The creature, the woman said, voice clipped. We tracked biosignatures. There was an unidentified entity here. Lyra gave them her absolute best expression. Oh, that creature. Yeah, he left. Probably to go do dragon things somewhere far, far away. The taller enforcer groaned. You are so much trouble. Lyra grinned. I try. The woman wasn't amused. If you're lying. The jungle erupted. A deafening roar split the air, so loud that the trees shook. A rush of wind followed, sending the enforcers stumbling backward. Lyra turned, heart pounding. The dragon had returned, and it looked pissed. The enforcers scrambled for their weapons, but Lyra knew, they wouldn't stand a chance. Not unless she did something stupid, which, let's be honest, was kind of her specialty. Without thinking, she bolted forward, putting herself directly between the enforcers and the dragon. Wait! The lead enforcer froze. The others hesitated, hands hovering over their weapons. The dragon, wings flared, chest rising and falling with deep, heated breaths, did not move. Lyra turned, her voice shaking but steady. He's not the enemy. The woman stared at her like she'd lost her mind. It's a wild animal. No, Lyra said firmly. He's not. Another tense pause. Then, to Lyra's absolute horror, the dragon lowered its head toward her, and, ever so gently, nudged her forward, like a cat presenting a favorite human. Lyra groaned. Oh, dude, not helping. The enforcers just stared, and for the first time in her life, Lyra had rendered a group of heavily armed adults completely speechless. Silence. The kind of silence where even the jungle creatures had the good sense to shut up. The lead enforcer, still gripping her rifle, shifted just slightly, like she was trying to process whether a child had actually just tamed a fire-breathing space dragon. The others weren't faring much better. One was gaping, Another had a hand hovering near his stun gun like it might suddenly grow opposable thumbs and explain what was happening. Lyra, meanwhile, had exactly 3 thoughts running through her brain. 1. The dragon just booped her like an overgrown, scaly golden retriever. 2. The enforcers were definitely about to have an aneurysm. 3. She should probably say something before things got explosively stupid. She cleared her throat. So, I think we got off on the wrong foot. Or claw. Or heavily armored talon thing. The dragon rumbled softly, which could have meant yes, or I am deeply considering whether to set these people on fire. The lead enforcer, to her credit, had recovered enough to speak. Turner, she said, voice carefully measured. Step away from the... She hesitated, as if struggling to even define what she was looking at. The thing? Lyra sighed, planting a hand on her hip. See, that's the problem. You keep calling him a thing like he's some mindless beast. She patted the dragon's snout. But he's not. Are you, big guy? The dragon exhaled through its nose, sending a small burst of warm air past Lyra's face. She'd take that as a no. I am in fact very intelligent. Thank you for noticing. The enforcers exchanged glances. The taller one, who up until now had been silent, finally muttered, I told you this kid was weird. Lyra beamed. Ah, you noticed? The lead enforcer pinched the bridge of her nose, looking very much like she was reconsidering every life choice that had led her to this moment. Turner, she said, forcing patience, that thing is dangerous. Lyra glanced at the dragon, who was currently preoccupied with grooming a wing. You're right, she said solemnly. He's clearly a menace. Look at him. Cleaning himself, terrifying. The dragon flicked an ear, either amused or deeply insulted. Possibly both. The lead enforcer's jaw tightened. We have orders to neutralize unknown threats. We can't just let it go. Lyra's stomach twisted, but she kept her voice steady. He's not a threat. He's a survivor. Someone, or something, tried to kill him. She held up the now dull thorn, the metallic filaments glinting under the jungle light. You see this? It was buried in his mouth. It's not just some alien plant. It's a weapon. That got their attention. The lead enforcer took a slow step forward. Are you saying someone attacked it? Lyra nodded. And if they could do this to him? She hesitated, choosing her next words carefully. What's stopping them from coming for us next? That was the hook. She saw it in their faces, the way the tension shifted from hostility to unease. Finally, the lead enforcer exhaled sharply. Damn it. She turned to the others. Secure that thorn for analysis. One of the enforcers quickly stepped forward, retrieving the strange object from Lyra's hand. Lyra's shoulders relaxed, but only slightly. So, you're not going to shoot him? The lead enforcer gave her a long, measured look. Not today. Lyra resisted the urge to sag in relief. The dragon, as if sensing the shift in energy, huffed and straightened, stretching its wings. It glanced at Lyra, something unspoken passing between them. She stepped closer, placing a hand gently against its massive snout. You should go, she murmured. Find somewhere safe. The dragon hesitated. Then, in a slow, deliberate motion, it dipped its head, an acknowledgement. A thank you. And then, with a powerful push of its wings, it launched into the sky. Lyra watched as it disappeared past the glowing treetops, a shadow against the alien moons. For the first time in what felt like hours, she let out a breath. The enforcers were already preparing to head back, but the tall one gave her a look as he passed. You know this won't be the last time you cause a problem, right? Lyra grinned. Oh, absolutely. And as they made their way back to the colony, one thought settled in her mind. This wasn't just her story anymore. It was theirs.